Hi everyone. It's been a while and I'm happy to be here with you. Um, and today I was thinking I wanted to share a little bit of concept that is pretty common, but just like in a simple way and from speaking from my experiences, I wanted to share a little bit with you about karma. So there is a lot of literature about karma and so I mean, like there is traditions that talk about it, and it's like such a big topic. And so I just wanted to share like a few things, especially about what karma is not, that I've like experienced and learned and heard, and that I feel like it really changed the way I think. Yeah, like about my past lives and about what happens to me today, especially because I feel like there is some negativity that has filtered through our understandings of karma, perhaps through religion, that actually create more beliefs that are like limiting for us instead of like liberating us, which is I think the idea of spirituality at the end, right? So the first thing that karma is not, it's punishment, which is very common. I think especially in the era of Pisces, which is the one before this one, which is the Aquarian age, the age of Pisces. It was kind of like this scheme of like hierarchy and like sort of like the way that we were understanding the spirit and the religion and all of that. And so karma's punishment is not a useful idea, I feel. It means that you're condemned to something that you probably don't even remember if it is from past lives, or if it is from this life. It just feels so unloving and uncompassionate. Not to say that our actions have consequences, of course, but not that like there is some sort of like machinery of the world in which you would pay punishment in terrible ways for some of your actions. I feel like that is not the right approach. So let's move on to the second approach that I think holds some truth, which is this idea that karma is cause and effect. I feel like that is totally true. But it also has its like, like it has an approach. So cause and effect, yes, not in the sense of punishment as we were seeing, like on unfair punishment or like bigger punishment that you could ever imagine or things like that. Like it's not disproportionate consequence, I'll say. And I think it's consequence, yes, but again, perhaps in a different light that we have heard of. And so I wanted to just think about an example for us to examine, which is this idea that perhaps I, in a past life, was a person that cultivated violence and that was proclaiming an idea about humanity as a select group of people that do not include others, right? We know what I'm talking about, very common in history, right? And so if we think I in a past life I was part of that group of people that believed that and that acted violently against other group of people, if we see it under punishment, it would be like now in this life all suffering I'm having is the punishment for the deeds that I did back then. So again, it's not such a hopeful way. It doesn't allow for redemption or consciousness, or because if I don't even remember that happened, it's kind of like hard to grasp. And so I feel like that is not very useful, personally. So not punishment necessarily. Then cause and effect is more close to what could be, right? The concept of karma, in the sense of like if I chose in that life to engage with ideas of uniqueness and like separateness from others and not equality and things like that, in this life, for example, I'm having the consequence of being in the other side of this belief, which is incarnated in in a country, in a body, in an identity that is not the hegemonic one. And so so let's say like my suffering or like discrimination or whatever I might have, hypothetically and also very real, would be a consequence of this belief that I had in that life, where I stand in this side of the coin, and in this one I would be in this coin, right? And so I feel like that is also, as I was saying, it has a grain of truth, but it still feels a little victim-y, you know, like it's still like it has this idea that like because of that is like I'm trapped now in this suffering, and that sort of like I deserve it, which I don't think it's useful for us. And so I wanted to share with you, and it's obviously not my idea, but the idea of karma as memory. So when I read that first in an Akashic Records reading that I'm gonna put here, I quite couldn't get it. Like, what does it mean? Like, memory, what do you mean? And then I'm in a class now with a friend of mine who is a teacher who channels different archangels, and she said that again, like it's a memory, and I was just like, okay, I think I'm ready to understand what does that mean. And actually, I feel, and that's why I wanted to share with you. And I feel like what that means is that karma is memory in the sense of like when something happened in the past, being that we created a situation that was painful, or we were part of a situation where we received pain, like suffering and pain, some ideas were created and some patterns were created from that experience, right? That repeat in the next lifetime, which is karma, memory. So it's memory not because you remember what happened or what you did or what was done to you, but more of like seal, what, you know, in Akashic Records we call it a seal, which is like a negative thought that was formed from that experience that you carried from there to today. And so in the example of like the past life of like this person that believed in like uniqueness and like violence and stuff like that, you know, after living that life, it would be possible for that person to carry a seal that says that humanity is violence, or that there is no peace between groups of people in humanity, or that it's better to be, you know, enclosed in a group to not get hurt, right? And carry that sort of karma, that memory, to my next life where I would live the same ideas in a different way. Again, like for in my case, hypothetically, would be like living those ideas now pertaining to a completely opposite group that from the other lifetime, but it's just the recreating the experience of the same ideas, although it's completely like flipped, right? And so I mean, that is very useful for me to sort of grasp, to understand that, because it really takes off the charge of like the punishment and like the victim kind of thing. And it is cause and consequence, like cause and effect, definitely, but it leaves more room for me to sort of change things, right? Or transform, or come out of karma, right? More than that, perhaps other, you know, when you think about karma as punishment, there's not much you can do but suffer, you know. And if you think as cause and effect, like in some way, it also means like this is inevitable. You just can't do anything about your suffering because it's the effect of whatever you did, right? But when you think about memory, it does gives you agency, right? Because you can, now that you understand that karma is the pattern that got sealed in your unconscious mind, you can start to change that. You have the agency to transform, to come out of that karma, you know, to break the circle, if we want to say. And of course, like memory could be also like ancestral memory, in the sense of like other, you know, things that you carry with your group of people that you have incarnated in different lifetimes. But I feel like it really useful for me to think about karma as memory and like patterns behavior, basically, because that allows me to change those. And so because I felt like this was such a good sort of understanding, I wanted to share with you. And the next step for us would be to think about those like those negative patterns, or what are the big ideas that you have about the world. I've done a lot of regression, past life regressions, and one of the seals I had was precisely what I was telling you, because of what happened at that life, that it's better to be alone, to not suffer. Like if you keep yourself to yourself, you won't be hurt, which is completely, it's very sad, and like it has influenced this present lifetime in different ways. And so it's karma in the sense of like it's a negative thought about the world and life that I carry with me, but I can start breaking that seal, right? It's not, I do not deserve it. It's not unavoidable. I have the power to start transforming it. First thing I need to do is to see it. I also need to know how it influences my life. Like what are the reality that I'm manifesting based on that belief, right? And then start with a lot of love, like to understand myself, to understand what I'm creating, right? And starting to modify those patterns. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. Like Akashic Records is one way to do it, emotional healing, other spiritual paths. There's even like a therapy with your, is it called DMI or something? I'll put it down here. To start like changing your patterns. I mean, even Kundalini Yoga, which is what I'm formed in as a teacher, serves for you to change your patterns, your neural patterns, like the patterns of your nervous system. And so basically that would be breaking your karma. And I feel like that's very enlightening, at least for me. And so I wanted to just share with you. And like in the path work, we always talk about images, which is precisely what are the big ideas that you have about the world, about people, and about yourself, right? And so how can you start first identify those ideas and then challenge them. And so if you sit with yourself and start to do a list of the things that you believe about yourself, for example, I feel like to keep with the example of the being lonely, so I will say like a lonely person, right? Or like a solitary person, right? And so that is just an image. Like I am full potentiality in every moment in the present, which is what I'm learning in my class with my friend. It's all available, right? But I have decided to form this that says that I am this or that. And that keeps repeating in a way of karma. And so if you analyze what are the big ideas that you have about the world, about yourself, about others, that would be very helpful for you to start like challenging those ideas and changing those ideas. So all that is to say that there is hope for transformation, and from like basically hope to come out of suffering, which is what makes the human experience really difficult. If you're trapped in that the circle of karma, if we want to, which we can also say the circle of memory, that is painful, or the circle of negative patterns and negative ideas about the reality, including us, God, the others, I mean, so many things. So yeah, that is something I wanted to share with you, and I hope it can help you to keep working on being happy and being joyful in this life. So I'm wishing you the best, and see you next time.